Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Welcome back to our class on Introduction to Machine Learning, and I'm Dr. Marani Abu Bakar, the instructor of this course. We will continue to discuss more about the support vector machine. So for the review from the last lecture, we have learned the concept of hyperplane, which divides a space into two classes. Remember, called +1 and -1 class, right? So okay, now let's say we use the second formula, which is the minimization, okay, or a minimum problem. Okay, now we have the formula of optimization is minimize of this function, okay, 1/2 times magnitude W, okay, square, with subject this one, okay, and this is we put it in the equation is. Alright, so how we solve it then? So there are some methods actually to solve this minimum problem or optimization problem. We have some methods. Okay, this is one of them. It's called the Lagrange multipliers. Okay, Lagrange multipliers. So how it works? Okay, first we have to define multipliers. So multipliers is like constant that we can multiply with the function in the optimization problem. Alright, so let's say we have alpha I. So alpha I is kind of the constants, okay, and this one we can assume as the Lagrange multipliers, okay, for each data points. So now equation 8 is wrong, sorry. Equation 8 can be written as this by multiplying the Lagrange multipliers, okay, with the problems. Okay, so this is one way to solve this problem. Okay, so we put it together in one function, okay, called equation 9. If you can see here, this one is one function with two functions inside. Okay, from the objective, this is the objective function as I said before, okay, and this one is the constraint, right? Constraint. So by using the Lagrange multipliers method, we can just put together objective function and the constraint, and we multiply with the constant, which is here in this case is alpha I. Okay, so now we have formula 9 here. So this is the formula of the Lagrange multiplier. So everything is here. So this is objective function, right? This is objective function, and this one is the constraint, okay, and the alpha I is the multiplier. So this is the way how Lagrange multipliers works to solve it. So we put all of them there. We have objective function, we have the constraint, and then we multiply the constraint with the multiplier. Okay, what's next? So the next one, of course, we solve it, right? So because this is the minimum problem, if you remember the calculus, okay, subject calculus, if you take the calculus course, okay, we can think this is like optimization problem, right? And if we use the calculus to solve the minimum problem or maximum problem, always we refer to the first derivative. Okay, we can relate it to the derivative of the function. Same, this is the same. So to solve this one, to find the minimum value for this one, what is the W such that, or maybe what is the value of alpha I and the weights and bias such that the margin is this problem is minimum. Alright, so since we use the calculus to solve this, so we need to differentiate it. That's why the third step, we need to find the derivative, and you have to remember equation 9 consists of many variables, not only one variable. If you remember, if I have fx, okay, equals to, let's say, x squared plus 4x, for instance, right? This is a single variable, and when you differentiate g, you just differentiate like this, right? df all over dx, which is equal to x plus 4. The symbol is d strict. It's called as d strict because this is derivative for one single variable. Now, since equation 9 is more than one variable, we have w, we have b, we have y, we have x, we have alpha I is a constant. We can just ignore the alpha I, but we have w, we have x, we have y, we have b, right? Which is absolutely more than one variable. For that, we need partial derivative. So the symbol is different. So this is the symbol of the partial derivative. And I'm sure you already got the calculus course, right? So you are familiar with this thing. Okay, because we want to solve w and b. Okay, therefore we need to take derivative over respect to w and b. So that's why here and equals to 0, y equals to 0, because this is the minimum problem. Okay, so if we want to minimize the function, we need to take derivative equals to 0. That's in using calculus to solve it. Alright, so similar. So we have here partial L, okay, respect to partial W equals to 0. Okay, so from here, if you differentiate it, and then we have W equals to this. Alright, alpha I, yi, xi. Okay, so how we got this one? You just remember how we differentiate. Just assume if we want to differentiate this function over a variable w, for instance, we assume other than w is a constant. That's the simple way to use the partial derivative. So for instance, in this case, we just differentiate w, okay, whereas other, like b, for instance, we assume that one is 0. Okay, derivative of b is 0 because we differentiate a function over w. Okay, and then derivative of negative 1 also 0. Okay, so just we have this one. So this is like wait a minute, like this, right? So partial L partial W equals to, this is, we can assume it's like W squared, so a derivative of this is only W, right? Okay, and then we have hollow in the bracket. Okay, so here we have so now we differentiate over W. Okay, so we have sigma alpha I yi xi only. Okay, and then other than this is equals to 0, and this one equals to 0, right? Okay, so we can just ignore the absolute function here. We just have W, so that's why we have this one. So W equals to sigma alpha I yi xi. Okay, now for the second one, partial L over partial bias. Again, other than variable b, we assume them as the constant. Okay, So for instance like this is constant. So when we differentiate the constant equals to 0, right? So differentiate of this is 0. You can just ignore that. Now we just focus on this bracket. Okay, because this one we differentiate over b. So from this one we have alpha I yi times b, right? Okay, for this one, if we extend the bracket, we have alpha y yi times b. Other than that is 0. Okay, so if you want to open this bracket, this one only, this one equals to negative alpha I yi w transpose xi, right? And then plus sigma alpha I yi b. Okay, and then here negative 1, like that, right? If we want to open the bracket. Okay, so for this term we don't have b. Okay, therefore we can just so the derivative of all of this one is 0 because there is no b, because we assume all of them are constant. Now we just focus on the term with b, which is this one. Okay, so for this one, the derivative of this is only sigma alpha I yi. That's why we have here sigma alpha I yi equals to 0. Okay. Okay, if we substitute w equals to sigma alpha I yi xi into the Lagrange equation in the previous slide, so we have something like this. It's quite long equation, right? That's because this one actually is w, right? Remember that, and then that one is also w. So if we substitute w equals to this, then we have this one. Alright, then we simplify this one. It's supposed to be equation 11, sorry. If we simplify this equation, okay, then we just end up with this equation. So this one, I think, because we just take out the common factors, for instance like alpha I, alpha j, yj, xj transpose xi plus until xi, this one, right? So this was because this is common factor with the front one with this one, so we can just put it together, alright, and we just have alpha I subtract with half, negative half. Why negative half? Because this is half plus 1, right? All of this one has equation 1. Okay, so we have negative half, alright, because here's negative times alpha I, right? So the coefficient for this one, for this term, is negative 1. Okay, plus half over here, then we have negative half sigma all of this one plus b sigma alpha I yi. So we simplify equation 11, so we have this one. Alright, now according to the results previous slide, you remember when we take partial L over partial B equals to 0, we end up with sigma alpha I yi equals to 0, right? Then if we substitute this term into this equation, right, like this one position equal to 0, then we just have sigma alpha I subtract with half all of this one. Okay, and we name it as the equation 12. Alright, so in the optimization problem, this equation is called the dual problem, because the first one, this one, is called the primal problem. Why is called a primal? Because this one is the first problem that we derive from the optimization problem, right? And now this is the dual problem after we derive again from the primal problem. Okay, so we have the dual problem. Okay, so now we want to solve the equation 12. Okay, again, because that one is maximize problem, minimize problem, then finally we have to differentiate it. Okay, so now this is the problem. Okay, and then this one is called the convex optimization problem. This is just only for your knowledge. All right. And then there are some terms that we can understand here. So we have formula for W or weights equals to this. Okay, I will use another color, maybe this one. Sorry. Okay, so this one is the formula for the weights, and then we have the support vector xi. So this is actually component of equation 13, yeah. Okay, and then what else we have? B. Okay, bias. This is the equation for bias, and then finally we have decision function. So this is the important. This is actually what is it? The hyperplane function. Okay, it's called the decision function. So the decision function is formalized as this one: sigma alpha I yi xi transpose xj plus b. Alright, and this one actually obtained by this formula. This is the basis formula, and then we derive all of them, and then finally we got this one. Alright. Okay, so because the decision function divides the space into two halves, okay, positive and negative, then this decision function can be formalized like this, right? So for class positive, okay, the dx should be greater than 0, right? If this, and then this one result in the class negative one if the dx is less than 0. Again, if dx equals to 0 means the data set is exactly on the boundary, and this is called the unclassifiable. Okay, so to summarize, the support vector machines aim to find the best separating boundary, the one that maximizes the margin between classes. So we have seen the mathematical formulation, the role of support vectors, and how SVMs can be extended using the dual formulation. Okay, thank you for attention, and in the next session we'll explore how we can handle non-linearly separable data using kernel methods. But I think for this one we can just go for the practice in the lab. Okay, thank you very much, and see you again. Bye bye.